Surprise! Hey guys, it's me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Get Curried. Well, you see all these wonderful heart-shaped balloons around me? This is for a very special day, one of my most special and favorite days, the Valentine's Day. And for this, I'm going to make heart-shaped chicken calzones for someone very special. And to make your life simple and easy, I'm going to use Panasonic Microwave Oven. Let's begin. The first step is to marinate the chicken for the calzone filling. For that, of course, I'm going to use chicken breast, which is boneless. I've chopped it nice and fine. To this, I'm going to add in some flavors, of course, beginning with herbs. Now, herbs can be completely your choice. You can use thyme, you can use rosemary, you can use oregano, fresh, dried, anything that you like. I like dried herbs because it kind of accentuates the flavor furthermore. To this, I'm going to add in chili flakes and crushed garlic. Now this is kind of very basic and primal. I'm going to add in oil. This will wonderfully envelope every piece of chicken with the flavoring. Adding in freshly cracked black pepper, lots of it. And last but not the least, salt. Need to mix this well and keep it aside for 30 minutes. For the calzone, I'm going to make almost something like a pizza dough. The first thing that I'm going to use is sugar. Now this is powdered sugar, to which I'm going to add in just a touch of salt, and along with this, dry yeast. Now of course, by all means, you can also use fresh yeast, and that's completely your personal choice. I'm going to add in water so that the yeast starts getting activated. Now sugar is very important in this recipe because sugar will help in activating the yeast. Stir this well. I need to keep this aside for 10 minutes. Now that the yeast has come back to life, let's move on to mixing everything. Let's begin with the refined flour. To this, I'm going to add in the remaining amount of salt, and along with this, the yeast mixture. A teaspoon of oil, and we mix all of this before we add in water. Gently just bring all of this together. I'm initially doing this with a spatula, but eventually I have to knock this on the bench or the tabletop or the working table and then knead this into a nice semi-soft dough. But for that, we need some water. Do not get adventurous. Do not add in all the water in one go. Time to transfer all of this on the working table. Time to mix all of this, and like I said, knead this into a soft, medium soft dough, actually, not even a soft dough. It's important to knead this for at least 2 to 3 minutes, and that way the gluten will get excited in the refined flour, which is very important. The dough is kneaded and ready. Let's bring it all together. Looks like this. Finally, it goes back in the same bowl, and we need to cover this with a damp cloth. Now this also has to rest for 30 minutes. Let's keep this aside and bring back the chicken, because the next step is cooking the filling. Let's stir this chicken once again and transfer this onto the crispy plate. With the help of a spoon, just make a little space between the pieces of chicken so that it just cooks perfectly well. And this now goes in the Panasonic Microwave Oven. Let's place this in the oven. Select Grill G1, and on the timer, let's select 10 minutes and start. Well, our chicken is cooked and ready. Let's bring it out of the oven. The chicken has cooked wonderfully tender, and it's thanks to the Panasonic Microwave Oven that provides the heat from the top and the back, And it's also its double grill technology that ensures that the chicken stays nice, tender and juicy all through the cooking process. The next step, of course, is building up the stuffing with this chicken. For this, I'm going to take the grilled chicken and I'm going to add in some vegetables. Now these vegetables are blanched vegetables, beginning with broccoli, cut into, of course, tiny florets, American corn, spinach. Again, you can choose your own ratio, you can choose your own proportion. You can also choose your own vegetables and make it absolutely interesting the way you like. And to this, I'm going to add in cheese. Now this is cheese sauce. You can also use processed cheese, you can use cheese which is melted or grated and make it interesting. To this, I'm going to add in just a little more black pepper and a touch of salt. Now this is in accordance to the build-up of the vegetables. Let's mix all of this together, and that's where you have the most amazing stuffing or filling, whatever you call it, for the calzone done and ready. Well, remember, right towards the beginning, I told you that Valentine's Day is possibly one of my most favorite days. I've been married for the last 11 years now. Between my wife and I, we may miss our birthdays, we may miss our anniversaries, we may miss a lot of occasions to celebrate. But Valentine's Day has remained special for both of us. We just kind of find time for each other on that one day and spend that evening together. And that makes it very interesting for us, at least. In your own personal life, find that one day with that special someone and make it special. Well, enough of that. Coming back to the stuffing, this is done and ready. Let's move on to now shaping and making the calzones. Let's check on our dough. Just tap your fingers with a little bit of flour and bring this on the work surface and knock this back. It's important to deflate it. Well, technically, we call this knocking back. The next step is to roll this into a nice thin disc. This is rolled and ready. Now the next step is cutting this into a shape. At this stage, there are two options. Either you hand cut it or you use a cutter, a cookie cutter, and ensure that you get the shape. Now, I'm making heart-shaped calzones, and just for you to know, calzones are basically like a sandwich. So you need a bottom layer and a top layer, which is of this dough, and it's centered with the filling. So let's make the heart-shaped dough now. Our heart shapes are ready, and this is a sign that we move on to stuffing or filling. We take a generous portion of the filling and place it on 3 of these hearts. Now I've made 6 of these, so 3 of these hearts with the filling, and 3 of course become the cover. Remember that. Just remember the fact that when you are making this filling or when you're making the calzone, you leave a little bit of a rim because that's why you're going to press it and give it a little bit of a design. The next step is to carefully lift up this heart-shaped dough and place it on top of the filling. Just press this on the sides, and while you're doing this, you could also apply a little bit of water just to moisten the edges. While doing this, just ensure that with the help of your fingers, just press the corners, press the sides, so that all of this becomes wonderfully enveloped into the heart. One final shaping with the knife so that all of it gets lifted very easily. Finally, time to remove all the remaining bits of the dough. Now you may ask, how do we use this dough? Now you can use this dough in several ways. You can make a pizza out of this, you can continue making more calzones out of it. You can also make these little pockets filled with various other fillings. Let's keep this aside. The next step is to lift this very carefully and place this on the crispy plate. The next step is to take a fork and give it a little bit of a rim on the sides. Now this actually works in two ways. One, it kind of envelopes it, keeps it right in the center, and the second is to give it a unique pattern or a design. Once this is done, the next step is to give it a little bit of a glaze, and this is an absolute additional step, but I like doing it. I'm glazing this with a little bit of egg wash. Now egg wash is nothing but a mixture of egg yolks along with milk or water. I'm using water in this case. With the help of a brush, just ensure that you glaze it nicely and evenly. And along with this, I'm going to add in some freshly crushed seeds of coriander. This is done and ready. Time to bake this in the Panasonic Microwave Oven. Convection at 200 degrees Celsius. And start. It's about time, and the chicken calzone should be baked and done. Let's bring them out. Our heart-shaped chicken calzones are baked and ready. If you see, it's evenly browned, and this is thanks to the 360-degree heat trapping technology that this Panasonic microwave oven offers. I've made these heart-shaped chicken calzones for someone very special. You too make this for your loved one, and stay tuned to get curried. Happy Valentine's. Bye for now.